Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles, and it's going to be a heck of a busy day today. The contest deadline is over for the video contest, and well, I don't have an awful lot of time to do a video for Wednesday because I'm live streaming Tuesday night in just a couple of hours with Quickie Baby in World of Tanks. So I need to crack on, get my head down and get this video done. Luckily, I've got plenty of material to choose from. This is Crustay in the American Tier 10 destroyer, the Gearing. Now, his name is very familiar. I know I must have featured one of his replays before, but I can't remember what it was. Nevertheless, if I've shown one of his games before, I know it must have been good. And so I was expecting great things from this battle, and trust me, he does not disappoint. Now, I've never played the Gearing. I only ever got as far as the Benson, Tier 8, in the American destroyer line during the closed beta test, and I've only managed to get as far as the Farragut at, well, actually that's not true. I've just unlocked the Mayhan, although I haven't actually played it yet, the American Tier 7. Nevertheless, I've seen a couple of replays in the Gearing, and it does seem to be a very, very nice little ship, despite the fact that the American destroyer's guns don't really get much better after you reach the Nicholas at Tier 5. Nevertheless, the Gearing does have better firepower. For a start, it's got more of these guns. It's got 6 guns in 3 turrets, 2 guns per turret. With the other American destroyers, at best, you're going to have 5 of these 127mm guns, and if you want to take advantage of the final hull upgrades on the American destroyers and boost your anti-aircraft capability and unlock the ability to use the defensive fire cooldown, you have to sacrifice a further 1 of those gun turrets, so 4 guns. The Gearing has 6 of them, and they're very, very good on the Gearing as well. These guns take 3 seconds to reload. These are just base statistics, by the way, before you take advantage of commander skills or equipment modules. A 3-second reload on these guns. They have a firing range of 11.1 kilometers. It only takes 7.2 seconds to rotate the turrets 180 degrees, and their accuracy is pinpoint with only 98 meters of dispersion. Another thing that sets the Gearing apart from the majority of the other American destroyers is that the torpedoes actually don't suck. The Mark 17 torpedoes are mounted in 2 launchers with 5 tubes each, which means it can fire up to 10 torpedoes across either the port or starboard side of the ship. These torpedoes are quick. They have a speed of 66 knots. But more impressively, they have a range of 16.5 kilometers. Any torpedo that hits is going to do a maximum damage of 17,900, and because the Gearing can only be spotted on the surface from a range of 7.6 kilometers, that means that stealth torpedo ambushes are actually a viable tactic in the Gearing. All of this, of course, is just the base stock unmodified ship. If you were to fit something like the concealment system modification and the concealment expert training on the captain, as I'm pretty sure Crustay has done, you can see that he's got his surface detection range down to 6.6 kilometers. And if you were to take that one step further and fit the gunfire control system modification 2 to the ship, which extends the range of your main battery by 16%, you can add 1,700 meters to the range of the guns, which means that this ship will only be detected on the surface from a range of 6.6 kilometers, and you can fire the guns out to a range of 12.8 kilometers. So, bearing in mind that firing the guns does extend his surface detection range in Crustay's case up to 10.4 kilometers, that still gives him a 2.4 kilometer window of opportunity in which he can fire these guns, all 6 of them, with a reload of 3 seconds at targets that are just not going to see him. Right now, however, he's not really interested in firing his guns at anything. There are a couple of enemy ships that are far too close. There are some destroyers out there. If he fires the guns now, he's probably going to be detected, and he's trying to cap C in company with another destroyer. With 2 of them doing it, it's not going to take too long. The enemy's capping A, they're capping C. B remains uncontested by either team, and there we go, he's capped. So, initial priorities out of the way. Not a lot of enemy targets spotted anymore. Some aircraft coming in. What's he going to do now? So he's keeping an eye on those aircraft. Checking to see what the Fletcher's up to. The Fletcher's engaging somebody else, but those aircraft are getting alarmingly close. There are some fighters that have been vectored over to intercept them. Looks to see if he can get the Fletcher with a torpedo shot, but the Fletcher's manoeuvring violently. He's coming under fire, and there's no way he's going to hit the Fletcher with torpedoes at that kind of range, and he's about to get detected by those fighters. And there it is. Right, can't hang around here. And there's an enemy destroyer. It's the Benson, the Tier 8. A very, very good ship. And since you've been spotted anyway, well, it certainly doesn't hurt to start taking some shots at him. Shots out, scores some hits. The Benson does not return fire. The Benson instead stealths up. But the Benson can see him, the aircraft can see him, and the Fletcher starts opening up. And this is almost a fair fight. The Fletcher, the American Tier 9 destroyer, very, very good little ship. And you don't want to be getting into fair fights if you're in a destroyer. Fair fights are for mugs and losers. So he starts motoring. Now he takes a hit and his steering gear gets knocked out, but he doesn't use the damage control ability to repair it. He's got the last stand ability on the captain, which allows him to do some steering even when the steering gear has been incapacitated. And he's heading in more or less the right direction anyway, because he just wants to break contact from these enemy destroyers, because what was a fair fight, him against the Fletcher, has now turned into a very unfair fight, him against the Fletcher and the Benson. Over on this flank we can see that there's an enemy New Orleans class Tier 8 heavy cruiser charging balls deep here against a friendly Shimakaze who has already fired all of his torpedoes and is therefore on a reload, dropped a smokescreen and fallen back in company with a friendly New Orleans class cruiser. And you can see some fire coming in from the rear there from the Fletcher, who's managed to stealth up again and is using the New Orleans to spot targets for him, as well as some long-range fire coming from some heavier ships further away in the back that haven't yet been detected. But the New Orleans has managed to get into the cover and concealment of the smokescreen that was dropped by the Shimakaze. So he's safe for the moment, providing he can deal with the fires that Crustay set with his 127mm guns. But remember, smokescreens work both ways. We can't see the New Orleans, but that New Orleans can't see any of the friendly ships, and so things calm down for just a second, and then Crustay spots him as he starts reversing around the island, and he has managed to put the fires out, but his guns, of course, are all going to be pointing in the wrong direction. Now, at this kind of range, obviously, he has also been detected by the New Orleans. But it's definitely worth the risk, because he's managed to kill him, take some very, very minor damage, and with the New Orleans dead, Crustay is no longer spotted. Which is what makes this all the more surprising. He was taking some shots there from the Benson, and he actually took a hit while not being detected. That was some good shooting from the Benson in the smokescreen over there. He fired blind, guessed where Crustay was likely to be, and managed to score a hit. Didn't do a massive amount of damage, but still some pretty impressive predictive shooting. So where's that Benson? That smokescreen isn't going to last too much longer. There he is. He was trying to sneak into sea and cap, wasn't he? Well, we're soon going to have words with him about that. At this kind of range, burning, with his damage control ability obviously on cooldown, and multiple enemy ships shooting at him, the Benson's best option is to just turn around, motor out of there, and cease fire. If he stops shooting, he's going to be able to stealth up again, and will probably be able to get out of there alive. And it does look, in fact, as if that's what the Benson has done. So, good decision from him. He's managed to get away to fight another day. Crustay checks what the Yamato's doing by momentarily targeting him with his torpedoes to see what kind of course changes he's making. And that is a big, fat, juicy target. And don't forget, 16.5 kilometer range on these 66 knot torpedoes. You don't want to be getting too close, however, and with 16.5 kilometer range in your torpedoes, you don't have to get too close because, oh dear, the Benson decided to start shooting. And Crustay hasn't been detected. Now, is he going to go for the Benson? Or is he going to wait and try to get some torpedoes into that Yamato from stealth? He's going to wait. He's waiting for the Yamato to clear the island. His guns are all pointing the other direction. That Benson's a very, very juicy target, but the Yamato is a more juicy target, so he lets the Benson get away. And then he starts popping some torpedoes into the water. You'll notice the first spread of torpedoes was aimed directly at the Yamato, but the second spread of torpedoes was aimed slightly to the rear. This is to take into account the Yamato spotting the first set of torpedoes and then turning in to face them. He may be able to avoid the first spread, but that's going to mean that the second spread is more likely to hit him. But that Fletcher's popped up again, and he's got that Shimakaze at his mercy. The Shimakaze's yelling for help. Crustay's there in chat. I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming. The Shimakaze's popped his smoke. He's attempting to engage the Fletcher with his guns, but the Fletcher's guns are far superior. And Crustay's doing what he can. He's managed to hit him, set him on fire. The Fletcher's gotten his torpedoes away. The Shimakaze's on perilously low health. He's managed to kill the Fletcher, but the Fletcher managed to kill the Shimakaze with his torpedoes. And this is where we have a little bit of controversy in chat, as he just checks to see what his torpedoes are doing. Because it wouldn't be a multiplayer game if there wasn't any drama in chat. The Shimakaze went down. He'd also lodged some torpedoes at the Yamato, but, well, Crustay got his torpedoes away first. And the Shimakaze is about to start complaining that he didn't get the kill on the Fletcher. Well, you didn't get the kill on the Fletcher because you didn't kill the Fletcher. Crustay killed the Fletcher. And the Shimakaze is going to start whining that Crustay stole his kill. Well, if you didn't want his help, I mean, why were you yelling for help? Oh, I don't know. There's always got to be some drama, doesn't there? Anyway, there's that pesky Benson again. He really does need to die. And the Yamato, well, you can see Crustay's torpedoes. They've missed him by a country mile, which means the Yamato either stopped and or turned around, or potentially that's another Yamato. There are two Yamatos on the enemy team. Well, Crustay's torpedoes are reloading, and he's been spotted by the Benson. He really needs to kill this guy because he's just been a thorn in his side the entire game, and that was a good shot. He set him on fire, but that Benson is about to get into cover, and was at the perfect angle to launch some torpedoes, so Crustay starts turning, and that's when the Kagero pops up. Japanese Tier 9 destroyer. And there are the torpedoes, well predicted. Now the Kagero has just found himself in a very, very unfair fight. The Benson's out of line of fire and can't help him, so he tries to stealth up and keep himself alive while getting shot at by a gearing, but he was just going too fast to remain hidden. And when there's a gearing shooting at you and you have as little health as that in a destroyer, it's really only going to end one way. So there's Crustay's second Tier 9 destroyer kill, and it would be real nice if he could get a Tier 8 destroyer kill on that Benson as well, because he's been nothing but a thorn in Crustay's side this entire match. Now he's taken advantage of the smoke screen dropped by the Kagero there, or possibly his own as well, but there's a lot of smoke over here, and he's momentarily being detected by these dive bombers as they go overhead. But all of these smoke screens means that Crustay, even though he's in clear line of fire, is not actually in line of sight because the smoke screens are blocking his approach, and he fires blind at the Benson's last reported location and manages to score some hits. So that Benson's got to be on perilously low health now. There he is. He's been detected again. Not quite sure who he's shooting at. It's definitely not Crustay. Crustay has not been spotted. He hits him and sets him on fire and causes an incapacitation again. The Benson uses his damage control ability. Crustay still not detected. Can he finish him? Bingo, there we go, third kill. 3 destroyers gone. The Yamato is in a very, very nasty situation, but could easily get himself out of the trouble that he's about to find himself in. Crustay got spotted. He's well inside the range of the secondary batteries of the Yamato, so he drops his own smoke screen and he slows to a halt. But do you see what the Yamato's done? If he'd sailed behind the island rather than in front of the island, he would have been 100% safe from all of these torpedoes. That island is now blocking his ability to maneuver away from the torpedoes. And in fact, all he can do is turn into the torpedoes. If he'd sailed behind the island, he would have taken more damage because Crustay would still have been able to light him up for some time with his 127mm guns, but there's no way he would have died. Instead, he chose to sail right into all of these torpedoes with absolutely no way of avoiding them. So, well, effectively, the Yamato basically committed suicide by American destroyer. And there's Crustay's Kraken Unleashed award. And you'll notice he's actually apologising to the guy in the Shimakaze for stealing his kill earlier. He's showing remarkable restraint here. I probably wouldn't have been that generous. Dude, if you didn't want help killing the Fletcher, you probably shouldn't have asked for help killing the Fletcher. Don't blame the guy that came out to help you for helping you. You asked him. It's getting old now. Let it go. Anyway, what's Crustay going to get up to next? Well, there's only one enemy ship in contact at the moment, and that's the other Yamato. Now, he doesn't have a massive amount of health left, and he was pursuing the last surviving friendly battleship, who's heading away there up to the north, but then he starts coming under fire from a friendly cruiser. And so he turns around to get the kill on the cruiser. Now this guy is pretty good. He's got 3 kills, and he's very, very close to earning the Confederate Award. In fact, he's about to earn the Confederate Award at Crustay's expense. Crustay has popped his smoke, he's stopped, but he did momentarily get detected because he was moving just that little bit too fast. The Yamato is paying attention. He knows there's a destroyer out here, either because he saw him pop up or because, well, it's fairly obvious there's a destroyer here, there's a smoke screen. And the Yamato fires blind into the smoke and does a lot of damage, earning himself the Confederate Award in the process. Now, Crustay only fired 1 of his torpedo launchers against the Yamato, and he's momentarily lost sight of him because the cruiser who was spotting him has just popped around the side of the island and lost line of sight. But the cruiser then clears the side of the island. We detect the Yamato again. Crustay kept firing anyway because the Yamato's a really big target and it doesn't move that quickly, so his shots pretty much kept hitting him. And he's looking for the second shot with the torpedoes against the Yamato. And there it goes. But this Yamato is not stupid. Crustay starts reversing, just in case the Yamato fires a second blind shot at exactly the position where he was. He really doesn't want to get hit again. Friendly cruiser poking around the side of the island, trying to get some more shots into the Yamato, but the Yamato's rear gun batteries are able to fire. He fires and kills him with his secondaries. So the cruiser's down. The Yamato's on his 4th kill. He's gotten himself the Close Quarters Combat Award. He's managed to get himself Confederate. He's on 4 kills. We need to kill this guy fast. And finally. But the Yamato's secondary set him on fire, so he burns his damage control ability, and that's when things take a sudden turn for the worst. He's spotted by aircraft, and there's an Atlanta. And the Atlanta basically has the same guns as the Gearing, but it's got a lot more of them. There are dive bombers coming in. There are torpedo bombers coming in. He's hit, he's incapacitated, he's burning, and just when you thought things couldn't get any worse, things get worse. There's the enemy Shimakaze. Crustay's lost a gun turret, he's burning, his engine's been knocked out, his steering's been knocked out. There is absolutely no way he's going to survive this, but even without one of his gun turrets, he's still got better guns than the Shimakaze, and there's a very good chance he can kill this guy and get his 6th kill before his inevitable defeat. And he does manage to get some torpedoes away while, I mean, look at that. There's an Atlanta shooting at him. There are torpedo bombers closing in. There are dive bombers closing in. There's a Shimakaze shooting at him, and there go the Shimakaze's torpedoes. There was no way he was ever going to survive that, but he did at least manage to take one of them with him, and that's what it's all about in American destroyers. Live fast, die young, and leave a good-looking corpse. Let's see how he did, shall we? Yeah, that'll do. Not bad. That's acceptable. Well done, Crustay. A thoroughly entertaining match in the Gearing. I want this ship so badly, but, well, I've only gotten as far as Tier 7 in the Mayhan, so I still have some time to go. And that's pretty much it for today, because now I've got to get this video rendered and uploaded all before joining Quickie Baby's World of Tanks live stream tonight. And then somehow I've also got to fit in watching about 100 or so more of the videos that you guys have submitted. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Crustay, thank you for sending that replay in. And as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.